Greetings and salutations. We are back with more barbarian bashing fun in the One Talent Challenge. Now, we just finished getting Deckard Cain. We're going to be heading to the Black Marsh. And I wasn't quite finished talking about the video game idea I had. Because I sit there and I constantly think about it. It's like, it's one of the things that I would always love to do. And people say, well, why do you want to be the creative mind behind games? Because I've played games pretty much my entire life. I mean, when I say my entire life, I'm talking like, VIC 20, Commodore 64. I used to play games like Fourth and Inches, the old football game, Crossroads, which was a great little, shooter game, Ultimate Wizard. I mean, I played a lot of games. And something I've noticed is games used to be about a passion, and that kind of fell to the wayside. And now it's about profit. This is why I want to make the game, the idea I had. I want to make it free to play. I want to make it about the passion. Yeah, sure, there can be some microtransactions here and there. Nothing big. I'm making a little money on the side. Or we can sell, like, artwork and statuettes of, like, if your character has certain gear, we can get a statue made using, like, a 3D printer of your character's gear, etc., and so on, and do that. And send it to them. But anyhow, I played games for a very long time, and playing games is a joy, and it was a joyous experience. And then it became about like award shows and esports, and it's like it's fine to have an esports scene, but let it grow organically. Let the esports scene grow by itself. Don't force it. It's like putting a square peg in a round hole. Don't do that. Yeah? So, realistically, that's why I want to get into making games. And I don't really have to make the world's best games. Only have to make one or two. It's an idea. Whether or not it goes anywhere is solely dependent on, well, if people want to be a part of that. But I digress. This barbarian... I think this barbarian's a lot more fun than the druid. I mean, I get the feeling he's a lot more fun than the druid. Yeah, I also think he's going to be a lot more frustrating than the druid, too. As you put yourself right up there in the thick of things, and it's just gonna suck. And when that happens, yeah, well, I guess I'll just cross that road when I get to it. I'm hoping that this barbarian can make it through normal. I think Duriel's going to be the big hurdle, to be honest with you. Just because of... I know what he is. I know what he can do. Ooh, superior jawbone cap. Doesn't have anything good on it. And I can't imbue it, which is what I'm going to do with the jawbone cap I picked up. It's actually a good pickup, not that you mention it. I was watching, speaking of good pickups and everything else, I was watching this person, I was watching a couple people play Modern Warfare, not Modern Warfare, but Warzone. And I sat there, and as I was watching Warzone, Anybody that knows me knows exactly how abysmal I am at Warzone. And I don't say that lightly. I say that in the very most literal sense. I've seen better train wrecks. It's bad. For some reason, all the gimmicks and everything I can do in standard and in hardcore Call of Duty, or Black Ops, I should say, I can't seem to do at all in Warzone. And I don't know what it is. I can't see anybody. Now, you've seen my, pistol sniping short. You've seen my RGL sniping short. I mean, I'm hitting targets that you can barely see. And it's not because I know they're going to be there. It's because you can, well, maybe you can't see them, but I can see them. Then you put me in, Warzone, and when I'm in Warzone, I'm looking around, like Cheech Marin and Up in Smoke. He's got his hat covering his eyes. I'm sitting there saying I'm blind. Because I can't see anything. Right? And I can't understand why. Maybe it's just me. No idea. Oh, it wasn't that vicious. Spectral hit. No big deal. Do I need to pick up any? No, I don't. I love that smashing sound when you bash them. It's very satisfying. Such a satisfying sound effect to just hear that slap. Maybe it's because it's like it's got that feel of like you're guaranteeing that you're gonna smash them into next week. Just because he's got that grunt right beforehand. Admittedly, it sounds like a constipated grunt, but Oh, but Quiz, that's a poo joke. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm not above poo jokes. Shockingly, I'm not. Hello. Now I've got other aspirations, other goals in life. And people would say, "Wow, you're making YouTube videos. Isn't that a goal or an aspiration in life?" And it was kinda. It's more along the lines of I wanted to stream and be at least to some degree. Pardon me. It's been a long day. I woke up at 8 a.m. to go do Tai Chi. So, to some degree, I wanted to do live entertainment. Mostly because, growing up, I used to do voices and, kind of fart around having fun doing voices and whatnot. So I just kind of, wanted to have fun with it. Well, as it so happens, it didn't work out so well. And so my streaming didn't really take off because I wasn't like this over the top bombastic character. And I wasn't really this, doing this gimmick of like, oh, if you subscribe to my channel on Twitch at the time and then on Kick, I would do X amount of push-ups or whatever. I don't do gimmicks like that. I don't like that. And people are like, well, why don't you like self-promoting? It's not that I don't like self-promoting. And this is going to be a weird take. I think it's going to be a weird take for a lot of people, but I think a lot of other people are going to resonate with it. Here it is. Here's the weird take. I think that the skill will speak for itself. I don't think promoting I don't think promoting anybody's work is really gonna, like, if you promote your own work, I don't think it's gonna help. I think it sounds boisterous. I think the work will speak for itself. People will either like it and consume it, or they won't. Now, if you were to promote someone else's work, and say, hey, this person does good work or that person does good work, that's different. That's an outside set of eyes looking objectively at something. They're looking objectively at it and saying, from what I get from this is, I find this subjectively pleasing. And in that little nuance, if you will, that's where you can find, channels being promoted. The one time I did promote my Kick channel was when I was doing the send-off stream for Modern Warfare 3. That's the only time I promoted it. And even then I couldn't promote it properly because I didn't have the verification on YouTube yet. And so the promotion went nowhere. However, I still did it. And that's the only time I did it. I wasn't asking anybody to go give a follow or anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go over there and spend money. I would never do that. And of course, I get the same naysayers and everything that say, well, where's the ambition? Where's the drive? And it's like, the drive is there, the ambition is there, but you don't have to shove it down everyone's throat. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to go someplace and be like, yes, do this, that, and the other thing, otherwise you're not a true fan, haha. No. Absolutely not. I almost broke down into, like, Heath Ledger's Joker, Be like, no. What am I gonna go to do? Am I gonna go back to ripping off mob dealers? Anyway. I think people's work stand on its own merits. I truly believe that. I believe that if something is well received, I don't think telling somebody to hit a button is going to change the metrics or move the metric needle. I really don't. And I think being very conscious of good work and putting in the time and noticing what is good work and what constitutes good work is very helpful. It leads to a more polished product, if I had to give it a definition. Pardon me. Happens when I have too much coffee, I get a little bit of gas. And that's the glory of unedited. And everything else, you would never hear that unless they left it in on purpose, or unless their editor's trying to be goofy. Me, on the other hand, it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Doesn't matter. But, the work will speak for itself. And that's exactly what I'm waiting for. That, and I like to impart life lessons. Like, not just the whole work will speak for itself kind of thing, but the whole, that idea, that mindset of ripping off the Band-Aid, being the authentic self, that's essentially saying, be you. And I've said this to multiple people. Many, many, many people. I've said, be you. Be wonderful you. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, but, I'm not... they'll say, "Oh, but I'm not wonderful." And they'll downplay themselves, and a lot of people do this. It's a common thing. And let me tell you, I've met and interacted with a lot of people, and they all do the same thing. Nothing different. They all basically say, I'm so and so. I'm just me, or I'm this, I'm that, and they'll downplay themselves, and they will quite literally paint themselves in the worst possible light. And what they don't realize is even though it doesn't affect them that day, it does eat at them. Also, you can tell this is the same video recording because there's the words leg. And we're going to leave it there because it's wordsless. And yes, I've made that joke before, and I will continue to make that joke. It's just the way it is. Ooh, wait, I want that back. Give it back. There we go. I don't really need the 3 in mana or the faster cast rate. That doesn't really help me. The money's more important there. But I've tried to tell people a lot. And I've tried to have that conversation with them and say, look, you just need to be you. No one's a better you than you. And this is kind of the weird juxtaposition or dichotomy that we all live in. We all live in this one space where we are perfect. We are flawed, but we are perfect. And people say, they go, wait, whoa, quiz. How can you be both? Quite simple, really. We're all flawed. This is true. We all make mistakes. We all make errors. We all have foibles and faults and cracks and crevices and everything that makes us human. But we're perfect. Now people say, how can you be perfect if you have faults? Perfect does not mean without flaw. Perfect is an ideal. It is a pursued ideal. That there can be none better. That there can be nothing better than perfect. The pinnacle that it is, perfection as it is, that's exactly it. It's the ideal. It's perfection. Now, how does that apply to people? Well, quite simple, really. How many people out there can be a better you than you? There's only one you in the world. Only one of you. There might be people that look alike. There might be people that sound alike. There might be people that feel alike. They have a lot of similarities in feelings. There might be people that feel alike. But there's only one you. Which means you are the best you. So if you're the best you, and no one can be a better you than you, that makes you the perfect you. Now, people would say, but wait a minute, Quiz, if you're the perfect you, how can you improve? See, that right there is a nice little catch-22. Again, people say, well, I'm at the pinnacle, how can I possibly improve? How can you improve upon perfection? Just simply say this. Today, you are the perfect version of you today. That version of you today will not be here tomorrow. A new you will be here tomorrow. A perfect you tomorrow. That will only exist tomorrow. And the next day will only exist the next day. Each day, you are reforging who you are. You are reforging your entire, not existence, but you are reforging your entire identity and being that perfect version of yourself all over again. Some days are better than others. Happens all the time. And people have bad days. It's not that the day is bad. It's not that the day is bad. It's how you react to the options that have come before you. Everything happens for a reason. Every single thing in the world happens for a reason. How you respond to it is what makes it a good or bad day. Now, I'm going to say something else that everybody's going to most likely vehemently disagree with. Every day is the best day. Just like everybody's perfect. And each day you are reforging your personality to be that perfect you that day. Because you cannot have that day again. And that you that existed on that day is gone. The next day, it's gone. That previous you is no longer there. So every day is the best day. And people say, wait a minute, how can it be the best day? You make the best choices. Every human being makes choices. And when they make a choice, it is always in their own best interest. And it is the best decision they can make at the time. This makes every day the best day. Because if you're constantly making the best decisions out of the options you're given, you can make no other decisions. You're making the best decisions you possibly can. The options might suck. The options might be the absolutely dog water, right? The options might be the worst options in the world, but you're making the best of the worst. Still makes it the best day. Anecdotal story for you. November 15th, 2022. 2 years ago. 2 years, 4 days. My dog, Scribbles, who was a wonderful dog. He was by far the best dog I think I've ever seen, ever known. He was a Pomeranian. He had multiple seizures leading up to the 15th. He was on phenobarbital. And even after the phenobarbital, the seizures kept up. I had to make the decision then to have him put down on the 15th. It was not an easy call to make. It was not an easy thing to go through. I absolutely cried my eyes out taking him to the vet.
Stay a while and listen.
And I cried after I lost him. At least twice, possibly 3 times, shortly after losing him. He was that near and dear to me as a dog. It was the best decision that day. Because the other decision was letting him suffer. It was not a happy decision, and it was not a good decision. I wanted to keep him around. I did. I wanted to keep him around forever. But I couldn't. And I couldn't do that to a dog that was so sweet and kind. I couldn't keep him around and have him go through that suffering. Hearing him cry out in pain as he tipped over and fell and started convulsing. I couldn't put him through that. He was no longer himself after a few seizures. He was no longer able to be happy and jubilant when people came. He was no longer himself. But the whole time there, the whole car ride to the vets, I was crying the entire time, knowing that I was going to have to say goodbye to literally my buddy, my pal, and my friend. And this is a dog that could not stand under his own power, was making efforts, constant efforts, to come up and lick my face to let me know it's going to be okay. And even then, my philosophy is that every day is still the best day. The decisions I was handed that day, both options sucked. Both options were awful. It was either let him live in pain and torture just so I could be greedy and have him around, or let him go. And I let him go. Both options were absolutely horrible. But I chose the best of those two options. As such, I came up with the belief that every day is the best day, even after he was gone. I still question to this day, could I have taken another approach? If I had known sooner, could I have taken another approach? Could I have done something different? I still question it to this day. I'll never not question it. From now until the day I finally die and meet him once more, I'll never not question it. And shortly after he had his episode of the seizures and we had him put down, shortly after that, my other Pomeranian had one seizure. Just one. And I looked over at my mother at the time, who was there with me, and I said,
Hello.
we've got about 1 calendar year. Because it was about 1 calendar year from Scribble's first seizure to his departure. And my mom looked at me and she goes, okay. She's like, let's do what we can. Well, that was the only seizure the dog had. He didn't have any other seizures. But he suffered congestive heart failure and was having fluid on his lungs. He was literally drowning in his own fluid. And we didn't have any clue. Until one day, we picked him up and he could barely breathe. He could barely stand. We had no clue. Because we just didn't see the day-to-day progression. We went, you know how you can go like nose blind to certain smells. We saw him every day. We never saw the progression. so we couldn't notice it. And I had to let him go. Neither of them were good decisions. Neither of them were, I can't say neither of them were good decisions. Neither of them were happy decisions. But the options, again, were to let a dog that I cared for and I loved suffer or not. So I chose to not have him suffering. Because I know what it's like to not be able to breathe. I had asthma. So I know what it's like. And I didn't mean to be a Debbie Downer on this, but I wanted to give anecdotal evidence that sometimes the best decision still sucks, but it's still the best decision, and it still makes it the best day you could possibly make, given the options put before you. So it doesn't matter what options are put before you, it really doesn't. You are going to make the best decisions, therefore making the best day. So every day is the best day. Some days have better options than others, but every day is the best day. Now that somber story has been told. Ow. Hold on. Concentrating. There we go. Now that somber story has been told, I look back on all the times I shared with them. I look back on the 11 years of joy I had with Scribbles and the 12 years of joy I had with his brother, because they were both literally from the same litter. And I look back on those days fondly. I miss them. I miss them every day. And I still wish that I had more time with them. But it is, that's how life goes. Sometimes life just gives you two terrible options and you pick the best of the worst and you just kind of go with it.
I should take this to Chauncey. Weapons from your bow.
That went a little better than I had imagined. I imagined I was going to get absolutely destroyed. But see? You got to make the best of a bad situation. The easiest way to do that is to just take a look at the situation, take a look at the options set before you, and pick the best one for you. That's it. That's all you can do. And we'll never know what the other option would have shown. We don't get to see that timeline. We don't get to see that flip of a coin. And just how it is. That is a terrible, terrible jawbone cap. It was better before. And there are times I've wished to have another lens or a technological lens that allows me to see the options of the other decisions I didn't take and how different I would be and where I would be in life. because I look at the life that I've lived so far, and I gotta tell you right now, there's people look at me and they go, well, you've lived a spoiled life, and you've lived this and that and the other thing. I believe me, I've heard it all. I have heard it all. And to be honest, I don't think I've lived a spoiled life. I think that my life has had some hiccups along the way. I have my own struggles. Everyone does. And I think that with everybody having their own struggles and their own challenges throughout the, days, months, years, and, you try to get people to say, be mindful of other people's struggles. Well, you don't know what struggles they're having. And that's the thing. You never really will. You can assume you know. You can attempt to empathize with those struggles. But it's like, if you don't really know what the struggles are, how can you fully empathize with the struggles that exist? And people aren't normally open to talking about their struggles. And that's for good reason. The world today is bent on capitalizing on perceived weakness. As sad as that is to say, it's the truth. The world out there is cruel, and it likes to capitalize on any perceived weakness to get an edge. Because everybody seems to be playing the game of he who has the most toys wins. And I gotta tell you, there's no point. There's no point in it all. You can have all the toys in the world. One day, it won't matter. All the items and all the wealth in the world won't matter. Just won't. And I don't mean that in a somber sense. I don't mean that in a fatalist sense either. I mean that in the sense of, what if the currency goes under? Money didn't do you any good. Currency's worthless now. What if you have to move to another country for a new opportunity or to meet somebody? Can't take it with you. It costs too much money, so you gotta leave it behind. So, you can't just take it with you. So, it begs the question, why do people do what they do? Why do people feel the need to undercut others and throw people under the bus and try to do as much damage as possible when it doesn't help them get ahead in the least? Makes no sense. At least not to me. And this is why one of the reasons I do is I like to push a positive message. Obviously, I can't make a lot of donations, or I can't do like a donation stream or anything yet because I don't have a big enough footprint to make that. But donations are not exactly everything I'm talking about. Yes, that does good in the world, but there's also the point that there's a limit to it. There's a limit to the impact it can truly make. Knowing this, and looking back on it, I think to myself, okay, what else could I do? Advice. Talk to people. Get them to realize that the true value of a person lies within the actions that they take. The true value of a person lies within their soul. And if you look long enough into the eyes of another individual, you'll see that. You'll see that soul. You'll see that connection. You'll see that spirit. You'll feel it. It's a trip. It's a wild trip, but you can do it. And people say, like, well, kindness is free. Kindness is free, true. However, in order to grow, criticism is needed. Now, people like to sit there and kind of twist that around and go, wait a minute. How can you be kind and and have a critical view? Simple. Because if you're kind, you're going to tell them the truth. Okay? And a critique is not meant to be in a mocking manner. It's not, which hence quasaciously means in a mocking manner. The critique is not meant to be in a mocking manner. The critique is meant to point out something and say, this is where you could improve, or this is where we think you should improve. That's it. That's all a critique is. Now, there's ways to go about being cruel when critiquing. And for the most part, most people don't generally take critiquing very well. A lot of people, that's a terrible bow. It's great for like Amazons, but not for her. And that's the thing, is like critiquing, there's a way to go about it the proper way. And then there's a way to go about it the improper way. If someone's critique of a subject or something you've done is just, oh well, you're a disaster, that's not a critique. That's just being downright cold and vicious, right? If you could say, well, what if you did this? Then it'd be a little different. What if? And those what ifs seem to help, because they help bring something to the attention of the other person without overtly basically taking their head and shoving it right inside of a book and then slamming it on their skull. Figuratively speaking, of course. I mean, it's like trying to get somebody to learn something and then say, wow, this is how you learn it, and then shove their face in a book. You know what I mean? You've seen that trope all the time. Happens in everything. Happened in Harry Potter. Snape took their heads and shoved them in the book. You're not going to get them to learn anything that way. Same thing could be said for, giving critiques on streaming or giving critiques on making videos and making content. Those critiques aren't really going to fly.
Good evening.
But you have to be able to take critiques in order to grow. Now, kindness doesn't cost anything, but kindness is also honesty. People like to conflate that and say that kindness is actually niceness. Niceness is telling you what you want to hear. Kindness is telling you what you need to hear. Key difference there. Wanting to hear something, those are pleasantries, those are niceties. Hearing the truth might hurt. Let me tell you. Not once have I heard the truth from somebody and said, you know what? I just don't appreciate that. Not once. Every time somebody has told me the truth, I've reflected on it. Because there are three keys. There are three keys to, in my estimation. Now, mind you, I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm going to disclaimer. That way I'm not held liable. But to me, there are three keys to making yourself happy. And that is self. Hold on. I gotta think of the right words here. Self-realization, self-actualization, and then introspection. Maybe not necessarily in that order. Usually it's introspection first. You have to look inward. you look inward at the world within everybody. And people, you know, how you've heard that probably most likely in a hokey, like, you know, Hallmark movie. Oh, I saw the world in her, or I saw the world in him, depending on the Hallmark movie, or depending on the trope. There's truth in that. There's a world within us all. It's the world that we are the master of. Dominates the headspace and the heart space. I know this is sounding like some new age mumbo jumbo, but let me tell you, it's true. And they even did it in Bleach. They even did it in Bleach when Ichigo was fighting his inner hollow. And when I heard that phrase that they used in Bleach, I sat right there and I'm like, that's exactly the phrase I used. I conquered my own depression, by the way. I used to be depressed. Used to be. For quite a long time, actually. But when I heard that phrase in Bleach, I sat there and I really thought about it. And I reflected on it. And I reflected with myself, of course. I sat there just in my own little introspective headspace. And what I thought about a few things. First was what was said. And then I came up with another statement. Now again, I'm like I said, I'm no professional. I don't claim to be one. Take this advice for advice. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it at all. Not up to me. If you want to look at it and view it as though it were a snow globe on a shelf and then set it back, that's fine. I'm just putting it out there because it will offer a new perspective. That is simply it. It is a new perspective. That's all. So, I sat there and I had a chat with myself. And myself, introspectively, said, I know that the depression seems endless. He's like, but look again. And I looked back at it, and there was nothing there. It was a mere drop. It was a drop of water. It's like a drop of, like, motor oil. It's this little tiny speck. Prior to that, I was mired in it. And it was a mere just speck when I look back. And my introspective self, myself of the inner world, so to speak, said to me, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? When you're in it, it seems endless. But when you're out of it, it's nothing but a mere speck. And I'm like, okay, but well, how can I stop that from happening again? And myself looked at myself, introspectively, of course, and it pulled the phrase from Bleach. And it says, in this headspace, one can be the horse and the other can be the rider. It's up to you to choose which one is which. And it was at that moment I set my mind to it and said, I am definitely the rider, for I am no horse's rear end. And in that moment, my depression slowly went away that day forward. Now, yeah, I might feel, bummed out that something bad happened, or that the options that I were given on the day, on that particular day, were bad, but no depression. Pretty happy every day. Even though, and people say, well, of course you're pretty happy. Look at you. You're on YouTube. You're doing YouTube. Yeah. Currently single, beyond the age of 30, living at home assisting my mother. And I mean assisting her with like lift assist and other things. Like I have to pick things up that are heavy that she can't. I have to reach things that she can't, and so on and so forth. So single, no one else. No career currently, working on it with this. And all of that is going on right now. And of course, you have the global political thing about how everything's going the way it's going, geopolitically. And even with all that, and the recession, you know, the monetary recession, the economy, everything, you'd figure I would be depressed. Medical professionals would figure I would be depressed. But I'm not. Oh, I'm also overweight too. Yeah, there's that too. I'm a chonkers. So, and that's the thing, is it really just kind of boils down to, you know, I had an option. I could either be the horse or the rider, and I decided I'm going to be the rider. Plain and simple. Ever since that moment, I've never looked back. And I'm pretty sure anybody can do it too. Pretty sure anybody can. But I'm not giving that as like that people should. I'm just giving it as a perspective. That is a perspective I went through. And if you had not seen that perspective, then it's an idea. Just to look at it. Look at that perspective. Because again, I am in no way a mental health professional. And I'm not giving professional advice. I'm just giving an anecdotal story of how it happened for me. Now, most people would say, oh, you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done it. Nope. And it's like, you know what? Say I didn't say it. Say I omitted it. Decided not to. What would have been different? Not much. I'd have gone down another philosophical jaunt. Would have gone down another avenue to think about. Not much would have changed. But by saying it, what if I inspire somebody? What if? And it's that what if that makes me keep doing this. It's those what ifs that make me reach out and give people that perspective. I mean, even then, even still, like, even if they don't use it, right? Even if they don't use the anecdotal story as a perspective from a different angle, and they just say, nope, okay, that's fine. Perfectly fine. But what if? That's why I do it. That's why I gave the anecdotal stories. That's why I said what I said in this video. And I gotta tell you, there's many different things out there that people say, you know, they would look at me and they go, well, you're kind of like a walking contradiction. Yeah, kind of. Because there's a lot of things that, you know, on one hand I think one way, and on another hand I think another way. And it makes people sit there and question. And they really, they can't wrap their head around it. And they're like, well, where is he going to? What's the point he's driving at? And being enigmatic like that is certainly intriguing. I'll just say that. As for me, I've always liked being philosophical, intriguing, and Something's flying around my head. I've always liked being that way. Being very... not necessarily mysterious, or not overtly mysterious, I should say. More along the lines of, like, just almost sage-like.
Stay a while and listen.
Yes?
Kind of like Deckard Cain. Stay a while and listen. Stay a while and listen. I enjoy it. That's why I enjoy doing YouTube. I enjoy making a video that I can then post, give a description, and
Good day.
just kind of sit there and really almost have like a philosophical mindset. But I think this is where we're going to leave it. We're just back to where my druid died in hell. Well, I'm in normal, but we're at the same location he died in. Moment of silence for the druid. Okay, that's long enough. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thursday, which is when this video goes up, I will be recording again. And when I'm recording on Thursday, I will probably be recording World of Warcraft Classic. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why? Why WoW Classic? It's going to be kind of like my adventures. Playing alongside my mother. Yes, my mother plays World of Warcraft. She still plays it. Matter of fact, she's in a raiding guild. I'm not. And she is. So, it's going to be me questing alongside her, and I'll probably make a video or two about it and just see how it goes. If the metrics for it are good, we'll keep going. If not, we'll see what happens. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It did get a little heavy topic, and matter of fact, I will put that up there. I'll put up, like warning, heavy topics, and I'll even put it in the description, and I'll say I'm merely offering up a perspective. I am not a certified mental health consultant. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I did. And if you want more philosophical stuff like this, and you want me to just do like a almost like a, not really a talk show, but a stream of consciousness video without Diablo there, I can do that. If you want me to do it with Diablo there, I can do that too. Feedback is always welcome. Criticism is even welcome. That's the one thing I will ask for. I won't ask for subscriptions. I won't ask for, notifications, hitting the, like or whatever. Nope. I don't ask for those. And I never will. I will ask for comments, though. Because comments, feedback, criticisms, compliments, I answer them all when I find them. And I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing back from people to see if they like if they like it, and comment about it and tell me, hey, you could have done this better, or, could you, try this, etc. So on and so forth. I love to hear that. So comments I am always open for. And as always, I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and have a good one.